Hey, what's going on, everyone? I hope I got another fun watercolor video for you. I'm going to be using these Winsor & Newton artist grade, professional grade tubes in this one. And I'm also going to be using these Zen watercolor brushes that I received as a gift. And I'm going to squeeze a little bit out. Got some French ultramarine. And got some alizarin crimson. Some burnt umber. I don't think the alizarin, I'm not sure in this kit, but I don't know if it's permanent, but I'm going to be working in a sketchbook. So if you're doing sketchbook material and you're not using light fast paint and you're not hanging it on a wall in a sunny spot, then I don't really feel like you have to worry about it too much. This is sap green, cad yellow. But always check your light fast ratings on your paints to make sure they're not going to fade on you if you hang them somewhere. And I'll put out a little bit of, there's some Payne's gray in this set. It's a nice set. It's got all the colors really you need in the palette that we use in the Ron Ranson group. It doesn't have the light red. And there's a little bit of Payne's gray. It's a nice metal tray, as you can see. Let me adjust here. Now this is the Baohong Sketchbook. It's got a sort of a leathery type finish cover. And the paper in here is 100% cotton hot press. I'll also be using the Winsor & Newton white gouache. And here's the 5 brushes that came in this set. They were gifted to me. I'm going to go ahead and start with a little sky. A little bit of the French ultramarine blue. And interestingly, they also have, as Winsor & Newton is known for, Winsor blue is one of their colors. It's like a very bright blue. So I'm using this oval type brush here, and I like it. It holds water nicely. These are synthetic, some of the brushes in here. It said it's synthetic and natural, so I'm not really sure the breakdown there. But this brush is really nice. It's actually got a point on it. And it also is like having a round brush. So a little bit of red mixed in with the French ultramarine blue. And then I'll probably add a little bit of white to all of this. I just wanted to see how it would lay down. And here's a little bit of white gouache, kind of blending that in with the colors there. A little bit more blue. I like lately softening skies using the white gouache. You can use Chinese white, titanium white, zinc white. Basically, you mix that in with the sky, and you can come up with like a powder blue. You can tone down colors. You can make a wash using the white, and you can use that to kind of blend and tone. You can use it as a wash if you don't like how your sky came out. You can kind of do a white wash, and you can do a lot of different effects with it just by simply mixing a little bit of white in. And that goes for a lot of areas too. Now I'm going to use this brush here, this oval brush, and do a few little pine trees here with the Zen brush. I like this particular oval brush. It's got a nice little design to it. You can hold a lot of water, but yet it comes to a point, which is pretty nice. Just using that point to make the little arms for the tree. A little darker now, just to get some little colors out. This is just a little Baohong hot press sketchbook And these sketchbooks, this is a great way for you to kind of work out, things for bigger paintings to practice. They have a nice little book. I've got a bunch of these books just kind of laying. I got them on my coffee table. And after you finish one, you can just kind of go through it and just kind of have it as a flip-through book. A little bit of a keepsake, rather than keep painting full-size paintings and putting them in a bin and then, selling them, or, whatever you're doing with them, trying to sell them. Or, I mean, if you sell them, that's great. But a lot of times they'll sit around your house after you put a bunch of work into them. And I think these little sketchbooks are just more fun as little keepsakes. And, they're more organized. Have a nice little book. Throw it under your coffee table or on top of your coffee table, wherever. So again, I'm working a little bit with the green here. And just kind of a little made-up scene. Just want to see how these brushes are going to react. Again, it's a great way to work out little things. You jump into a big painting, you got new colors, new brushes, and you kind of don't really have an idea what you're going to do. And the sketchbook is a great way to do that. Here's the other brush. This is kind of like almost like a flat brush, but the bristles kind of separated a little bit, which is okay because it creates a nice little textural pattern. I don't mind that. I don't know if it'll work totally as a flat brush. It doesn't feel like a flat brush. I'll have to look at what they call that, but it's kind of like a square brush. I think that would be the best way to describe it. But you can see the way the bristles are separating. I'm just exploiting that pattern that this brush is creating. And I'm pretty abusive to the brushes anyways. I'll smash them down, and I'm looking for brushes that can create that kind of unique pattern of foliage. And now I'm using the round. It's a small round brush. And as in the last video, I told you I don't really use these kind of brushes ordinarily. But in these sketchbooks, you're using smaller brushes. You just don't want to do anything that's real tedious or fussy. I don't anyway. I'm scraping a few little rocks, little shapes on the bottom there. Has a little burnt umber in there. Just anchor those in a little bit. Now I'm taking the small fine, it's not really a rigger brush because it's a little short. It's a little bit of a shorty. It's probably just a detail brush. But you can use it for this. Just will have barely any moisture on it. It's what I would use it for. I wouldn't really do a lot of detail, anyway. finer points on these trees. Make some sticks and things with them. All right, I think I'll go in with this brush and work on doing a little distant mountain. You know, I like mountains, so I'm gonna put a little distant mountain here in the clearing area. When I was in Colorado area, there's a lot of scenery like this. And if you like painting mountains, go to the mountains and take a lot of photos. I mean, you could set up plein air. I'm still not 100% comfortable with plein air sitting outside, and a lot of times I can get the photo of it and take it back and, you know, think about it for a while and then sit down and paint it. There's nothing like the comfort of being in your own home or your own studio. There's something to be said for being outside and inspired by nature. I'm going to take a little bit more whitewash here with the gouache and just kind of tone down this sky a little bit. Because now that I'm putting in the bottom area, I just think it's a little too strong. It'll dry back a little bit. Back to what I was saying, you know, you're out in the open plein air and you really can get a feel for, you know, the environment and be inspired in that way. And also, if you're in a rut and you keep painting the same scene and you go out and you sit down in various areas, you can be more original. Let me add a little bit of white gouache to the cad yellow and create a little brighter sensation here of the grass. So far, I'm liking the round oval brush the best. I would use that one going forward. And a couple of the smaller brushes. I'm not so sure about the square Zen brush, if I would use that for its intended purpose, but I definitely use it to create more foliage. I wouldn't mind carrying these around with a sketchbook setup. They're economical brushes for sure. If you look on Amazon, you can see these brushes are pretty economical. But it's fun to try out different brushes and see what other brushes can do. And you might find one that you really like, or a couple that you really like that you want to add to your permanent set. So I'm adding a little of the white gouache, same as I use in the sky, white gouache in the French ultramarine blue. Interestingly, Ron Ranson, and by the way, if you haven't watched my videos before, I'm one of the admins over at the Ron Ranson group over on Facebook. If you want to learn more about Ron Ranson, how he taught fast and loose with the goat hair brush, watercolor painting, come on over, answer the 3 questions, and join our group. But Ron Ranson initially used ultramarine blue as part of his original 7 colors on his palette, and then in later books used French ultramarine. French ultramarine is a little bit of a warmer, sort of a redder blue. Ultramarine, typically you would maybe add something to it rather than just use it straight. But French ultramarine, you can use a little more out of the tube. So now I'm using the regular white gouache. I'm just going to create a little snow on these mountains, something I really enjoy doing. And I'm going to use that fine little brush that they gave, which is actually perfect for this. Here's a quick photo of a similar scene that I took when I was in Colorado recently. I'll go ahead and make a little shadow color with the French ultramarine blue and the white. Although the Winsor blue, which I will try too, will create a nice, cool shadow color. Yeah, you can make these mountains a little bit bigger. You don't have to have mountains. You know, whatever scene that you like to paint. I personally like doing mountain scenes, as you know. And here I've mixed in a little blue, as I was saying. And that a blue is a cool color, so it can be a shadow color. So you think shadow, you think of being in a cool area. Just like they use shadow. Sometimes you use a warm shadow, like you can mix like a mauve, a dark mauve color, and you can use that as shadows on the ground. So I think shadows on the ground would be like a warmer color. Shadows off of buildings, a warmer color. And then like shadows on the actual object, like the mountain. You can have darker areas, but it also works as like a cool area. So you have the cool blue, and it's cooler than, of course, the white side. The white side is cold, but it's hotter, if that makes sense. It's like when we used to, like, I was in printing for a long time, and like your reds and your bright colors, we would consider those like hot colors. Even though they're kind of cooler, but in the printing process, they were considered hot. So it's something I've had to get kind of used to over time. If we call something hot or cool or what have you. But definitely blue is always considered a cooler color. You can get as detailed with this as you want, make extra peaks. Especially with these little Zen brushes. I mean, these are nice. If, typically I don't get into detail, but these, if you want to do any kind of detail stuff, maybe paint little figures or a little dog or something like that, this brush here would be the perfect brush for that. No loss of hairs either on these. As I said, these were given to me, and I looked at it, I thought, well, it'd be nice to showcase a couple different elements in the video. Have some kind of paint that I haven't used, some kind of brush, and some kind of paper, rather than just do the same paper, same colors each time. I think it's a little more interesting that way. Again, just little bits of detail here. In case you're wondering, too, I don't talk about it. I'm working on a little, this is an art pop. It's a little easel for your tabletop. And I like to sit sometimes right on my couch and have this on my coffee table and paint. Have the TV on in the background. Whatever you're comfortable with. If you're going out plein air, you should have a very minimal basic kit. Sketchbook you can have. And you can have an easel if you want to. You have a sketchbook. I don't see much need for an easel. I can't really sit like with my legs crossed, like crisscross applesauce. I can't sit that way. So you can have a chair. You can have the sketchbook in your lap. You can have an easel set up. There's a number of ways you can do it. When I was in Colorado, I was doing a river, and it was like, okay, where am I going to set my sketchbook? And I ended up climbing on this rock, and then I sat down, and I laid down. I was really, uncomfortable. So, and I don't do a lot of plein air. I'd like to do more, but, yeah, there's definitely a comfort factor there. And then you have the wind blowing and different things happening, people walking around. They want to see what you're doing. One of the brushes they gave you in this 5 set of brushes kit is this little round scrubber brush. Now this is more designed for if you want to rub stuff out that was like a mistake in your painting. I don't really have too much call to use something like that. It's good for lifting, so it's not bad to have one of those somewhere in your kit. And the chance you might need that. So I'm not really going to say too much about that particular brush, except I might use it for little special effects. So I'm sort of fooling around with this little mountain, and again, fussing, of course. Just using this little flatty kind of Zen brush here. And blending that a little bit more. That's what we do. We kind of keep touching, keep trying, keep messing with it. That's why I always recommend videoing yourself painting, because you will see a point where you're like, you know what, that wasn't so bad. I could have stopped there. I really could have stopped there. I could have left it. I could have left that alone. And I've done that numerous times myself. I use this little pointy one to throw a little bird up in here instead of my usual micron pen. I use the small brush here to pop in a couple of birds. So overall, I think the real winners here, the Baohong Hot Press Sketchbook is really nice paper if you like hot press. And the Winsor & Newton professional grade paint, artist grade paint, is really strong pigment, really nice, really great. One of the best paints that I've used. My top 2 picks up there with the Daniel Smith. And I like the oval brush that came in this set. Those are my 3 favorite things about this particular setup. So I'll just go in and do some little details. So it's a nice little setup to have the metal tin set. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put in a little, sort of like a lighter tree in front of this here, using the white, and just kind of accent that in there, just something to stand out against that outcropping there. It's a good thing to use little bits of white for. You can, you know, do like a dead tree branch or our dead tree trunk. You know, you go out into the forest and there are dead branches, dead trunks and things like that. Add a little bit of brown to it, make it maybe not so bright. Because suddenly that stands out against the background. That's why we use the fingernail trick. When it's wet, we'll do a, you know, quick scratch up. But a lot of times, if you go higher than the trees around it, the fingernail will only work in those darkened areas. So that's where you can bring a little bit of white into it. I use a little white gouache to a couple more accents over here, and then I'll use it to make a little bit of a water line. Yeah, just taking the fine brush on the side of it and making a little, just a little white. Little white water line. Put little details in too with that. Just little clumps of things. Little highlight, little shadow on the, or, you know, a little dark side on the tree branch there. And you can put little sticks and twigs, and again, you can get a little, you know, you can get as detailed as you like. So that's it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed seeing the different materials. And then when I finished this one off, I ended up kind of fussing with the sky a little bit more. I think it's okay. I was a little too dark. I think in the final picture here, it's got a little bit more contrast to it. And here it is in the frame. And I will see you on the next video.